Hey nerds, Chris here. Got a new video for you. It's been about, I don't know, 3 years since I updated my last video. Been pretty busy, got a new job, been working a lot with that. However, a couple months ago I got the bug, the 3D printer bug. I don't even know what happened. I was just sitting in a hotel room one night, browsing on YouTube, came across some 3D printer videos, and I decided that I was going to get one. But there are a million of them. I've never even seen one in real life before. And they go from price points from like $50 all the way up to thousands and thousands of dollars. I didn't know what to do, so I just started searching best budget 3D printer, the most reliable 3D printer, the 3D printer with the best prints or whatever. And there was one printer that kept coming up over and over and over again, and that was the Ender 3. So I started looking at the Ender 3. One second. Alright, so started looking at the Ender 3. It looked good. People really enjoyed the process of building it. They enjoyed tuning it, upgrading it. And yeah, they were turning out some really great prints. But I had one problem with it. The Ender 3 Pro came out like 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And I didn't really want to buy a printer that was already going to have parts that were 1.5 years, 2 years out of date. I kept on searching. And that's when I finally stumbled across a video about the LOTMAXX SC-10. Couldn't find much on the LOTMAXX. They're a pretty new name in 3D printers, and there were very few reviews covering its benefits and how reliable it's been. So I decided to reach out to LOTMAXX and tell them, hey, I'm really interested in your printer. It's a new name in printer. It's got lots of new features that people are already adding to their Ender 3. It comes almost 100% built for you. You have to put in like 4 screws. Took me like 20 minutes to put together, but that's because I was going really slow. And within an hour, I was doing my first test print. That little white dog back there. So what did I like better about the LOTMAXX SC-10 than Ender 3D? It's a little bit bigger build volume at 250 by 250 millimeters by 285 millimeters tall. Came included with a filament runout sensor, silent stepper motors for the X and Y axes. The body is an all integrated one-piece aluminum body, and it's got a built-in touchscreen, which is pretty cool. Alright, so what's my purpose of making this video? This is not going to be your traditional review of a 3D printer. I am 100% new to the hobby. Starting from zero about a month ago, had no idea what I was doing. So I can't really compare this against other 3D printers. All I can do with you is share my experience with it, and my experience was starting 3D printing altogether, along with asking that more veteran hobbyists leave some comments below and help me out, help me solve some of the problems that I've had, and help me be able to turn out more reliable and better prints. Alright, so my experience with the LOTMAXX SC-10. Like I said, super easy, an hour, and I was set up and ready to go. So my very first print was super promising. It was this little white dog right here. Plastic stuck together really good, stuck to the bed really well, too well actually. When I took it off the build plate, it ended up tearing a little hole in the foot. I had some little layer shifts, very minor. I was able to determine that the concentric nuts, I think that's what they're called, on the wheels on the underneath the bed plate were a little bit loose. So tightened those up and got rid of that wobble, and that did wonders to eliminate any of my layer shifting. My very first impression with this printer was just like, wow. The print turned out amazing. It is very quiet, as you can hear. Makes very little noise except for the hot end fan. It's a little bit noisy. This is actually not the stock hot end fan, but the X and Y motors are completely silent. The Z makes a little bit of noise, but the Z only makes noise when it changes layer. So I was really excited after I did that print. My second print that I made was this white baby Yoda over here. This one, I don't even know what happened. As far as I know, the other settings were exactly the same as the white dog, but this one was full of under extrusion. You could see right through the layers. It felt pretty brittle, broke a finger off when I was taking it off the build plate, and then I ran into my very first big problem with the SC-10. The SC-10 includes a filament runout sensor. I didn't have enough filament to finish my Baby Yoda, and whenever the filament ran out, it paused like it was supposed to. Sort of. Once I replaced the filament, The printer was completely unresponsive. The touchscreen would not respond at all when I would touch it, and I had no other options other than to just power cycle the printer, turn it off and back on, losing my resume function. So what did I do for Baby Yoda after I ran out of filament? I tried to finish it with some gold filament, some really beautiful stuff I picked up on Amazon. But what I did was I lowered him on the bed in the slicer and tried to kind of guesstimate how much of his head I had left. It worked okay. I didn't get it exactly right. I had no idea how to count layers, or I don't even know if that's possible, but it worked okay. It took 2 tries and I got it kind of close. Looks like his brain's kind of sticking out now. But so that's one option that you can do. It's not really the right way and probably won't turn out the best results. LOTMAXX has been great to deal with. I let them know about my under extrusion issues, my layer adhesion issues, and they shared with me their factory settings that they use on all of their prints. So I put in the new filament, selected a new model, hit print, and I had under extrusion galore. This gold filament is beautiful. It's very shiny, but for me, it under extruded really bad. Layer adhesion was terrible. My first test print with the gold filament was another one of the test dogs, and I could literally crush him in my hand. Didn't work for me at all whatsoever. I also printed some of those 3D nesting mazes, but my son was able to break those all within a few minutes. So I was having a lot of issues with layer adhesion. So the first solution that I came up with by myself was that my 3D printer either prints too cool or the thermostat is a little off. After I jacked up my temperature from 200 degrees Celsius up to about 210, 215, a lot of my problems seemed to go away. What was weird though, is I printed several of these temperature towers to test out what temperature was going to work best for me, and initially 210, 215, and 220, they started to look really droopy and not so solid as 205, 200 level. But then after a little while, those temperatures actually ended up working a lot better for me. Right now I'm printing between 210 and 215 degrees Celsius. All right, so I started printing a lot of benchies like many people do. I had really good progression across my benchies until I dialed in that temperature. One of the number 1 reasons I wanted to buy a 3D printer was to print off a full-size wearable Iron Man mask that you can see here behind me. My very first print for the Iron Man mask, again, was in the gold filament, and it printed beautifully, sort of. It printed really well, but one piece broke off when I pulled it off the build plate. Another drop broke off another piece, and then like a quarter of the mask was showing under extrusion lines as well. It was really weird for me. I'm not really sure how to fix it, but it seems on my big prints, I'll have half or 3/4 of the print turn out really well with just immaculate surface quality, and then along one side I'll have under extrusion, or something at least that looks like under extrusion to me, that I haven't figured out how to solve quite yet. So that was really promising. I was having prints that were turning out good, stronger than my prints before, but still kind of brittle. So then I decided to go the next step and print more of the Iron Man mask. My second piece turned out terrible. It was awful. It looked gross. The entire thing is under extruded. It's very brittle. Multiple pieces broke off of it, whether I was handling, my son was handling it, or one of our friends knocked it off the table. And I am able to glue it back together, but I'm not even 100% sure if it's serviceable. I bought some spray paint and filler that I'm going to try to fill it in and salvage it. I have no idea if it's going to work. My initial idea was to print the entire mask in colors that were close enough to Iron Man's mask so I didn't have to paint it, but it's just not going to work. The prints that I did looked terrible, and I wasn't really sure what was happening. So after searching and searching and searching on what causes for under extrusion could be, people suggested that you should calibrate your extrusion stepper motor, which I did. Turn up the heat, which I did a little bit, and then they suggested that there could be a clog, and I think that's what happened with mine. So I disassembled a lot of the hot end, did a couple of cold pulls, tried to stick the little needle up in there to break free the clog, but I just was having no luck getting the extrusion to come out right and my prints to look good again. They had shipped this printer with a all plastic extruder, But LOTMAXX reached out to me and told me they were going to send me an all-metal extruder, and they were also going to replace the plastic extruders on all previous SC-10s that were sold, and all future printers that are sold will already have an all-metal extruder, which is great because that's one of the first things that people upgrade on their Ender 3s and SC-20s from Creality. So they have been super great to deal with, and they are really trying to make this printer work for everybody. So after I did the cold pulls, jacked up the temperature, replaced my extruder, and changed to a different filament, I was able to get my prints back under control and get them looking to more or less where they were looking before. Actually, even a little bit better usually. One of the things that's been really confusing to me is sometimes I will have prints that will turn out like perfect. So I just did a calibration cube that turned out really well, almost perfect surface finish in blue, followed by a toy that was full of layer seams and holes and under extrusion. I'm sure it's something I can fix. I just don't know exactly how to fix. I can't figure out what the problem is. It's weird because it's just so inconsistent. I'll get one print that's like perfect, followed by one print that is completely unserviceable. I printed another bad Yoda, followed by a calibration dog, the one right beside the printer, that turned out almost perfect. And the settings I used were pretty much the same. So one thing that kind of seems weird is it seems like if I print small prints with not very many layers, I can get them to turn out really good. When I start to get taller prints, the prints start to fail the higher I get. And I'm not 100% sure how to fix that either. Mostly I've been using the settings that LOTMAXX provided to me. If you'd like me to, I can share those settings with you guys, except for I have had to keep the temperature 10-15 degrees higher than what they recommended. So the last thing I did is I ended up changing my nozzle because I was pretty sure that I had a clog, and I recut the end of my Bowden tube. There was a little bit of filament stuck to the end, and I was afraid maybe it was getting hung up. However, when I went to change my Bowden tube, I accidentally broke my fan like a moron. Totally was something I did. I went to use my snippers to cut a little piece of hanging filament off the end of the nozzle, and I just stuck it right in the fan and broke it. However, LOTMAXX, when they sent me the all-metal extruder, they also were sending me new fans. Didn't ask them to, they just sent them to me for extra. But they were coming shipped from China, and I didn't want to wait for them, so I ordered some new ones off of Amazon and replaced them with that. Just cut the wires, soldered the cables together, and it's been working pretty good. When I replaced the plastic extruder with the all-metal extruder, I realized that in the 2 weeks that I'd had it, the filament had already chewed a big hole up through the extruder. I'm thinking that maybe that was causing binding and being part of the problem that was causing me to have under extrusion, but I haven't really done enough prints yet to determine if that's true. After having done all of these upgrades, not very many, but all of these little tweaking and upgrades that I could figure out how to do, I have been having much better luck with turning out really good prints. I've had some of these articulating octopuses behind me have turned out basically flawlessly. I printed a battery dispenser, an under cabinet mount for my cable modem, and a couple other things that have turned out really good, and I'm hoping that I'm able to keep up that trend and turn out consistently good prints. So I did have one, I can't remember where this happened in the timeline, I did have one failure that was just like a failure. Everything failed on it. Veterans to the hobby will caution you not to leave your prints alone. I don't even understand how that's feasible because prints take so long to do.
It's been printing forever.
But this is what happens when you start at print and then go to church and something goes horribly wrong. I don't even know. This ended up breaking my silicone hot end sleeve. Got a new one on order from AliExpress that'll be here, I don't know, in 2021 probably. The old one still kind of hangs on, but it's broken, so I wanted to get it replaced. LOTMAXX also provided me with 2 spools of filament that I absolutely love. They have been printing just amazing for me. One of them is the green that I'm printing in the background right now, and these prints have turned out better than any of my other prints. The other brands I've been using are Ziltech and another brand that I don't remember the name of right now, but I'll put it on my face or something. Ziltech I bought several spools of because Uncle Jesse recommends it highly. I've had a little bit of problem getting it to stick to each other. It adheres to the bed, but that could totally be on me, and I'm still trying to figure this out and dial in my settings. So I'm not going to quit on it altogether, well, mostly because I have a lot of it left. But this stuff that LOTMAXX sent me is great. So I reached out to them and I asked them what brand filament they sent me, and they said that it's their own in-house brand. They don't sell it yet, but they're planning on bringing it to the market sometime soon. All right, so what are some of the major problems that I've had so far, not just with the SC-10, but just with this whole process in general? One of them is the concentric nuts. I don't really have a good understanding of what is too tight on them and what is not too tight on them. On this printer, the crossbar, I can't remember if that's for the I think that's the X-axis crossbar. It droops a little bit, and I can't get all 3 nuts on the left side and all 3 nuts on the right side to be snug against the vertical bars. I've tried to adjust it a lot of times. I always have that droop on the right side, and they just don't all line up, so all 3 wheels on both sides are gripping the bar. So that's been really annoying. I don't know if the printer is out of square or if I just don't understand how to work the eccentric nuts very well. My bed, I think, has a little bit of a hump in it. I think it's a little bit uneven. The build adhesion plate that's on it is flexible, so it'll be whatever shape the actual build plate is. I believe mine has a dip because I can't ever seem to get it 100% even. That's been a pain for me. Another thing is the way they explain to you to level your bed is to stick a piece of paper underneath of it and wait till you have a little bit of resistance. A little bit of resistance is subjective, so I don't ever know if I have my first layer too far down or if I'm too high. Filament Friday has a file where you can print lots of squares, and he has a different way of leveling his bed. I just started doing that. I haven't done it enough to determine whether or not it's been working for me. But he'll just print a lot of squares round and round in circles, and you kind of rub your finger over the squares. That's how he does it, and my last couple prints I've done it that way, and it seemed to work pretty well. So that's another thing that's kind of weird. I honestly don't know exactly how high or low my first layer is supposed to be, and I don't know how to figure that out either. The LOTMAXX SC-10 also has another way to continue prints. You can actually stop the print, turn off the printer, move it, go back, and hit a continue print function, and then this is where it gets fuzzy. Somehow you were supposed to line the print head back up with the print, hit continue. The printer is supposed to do some calculations and pick up where you left off. I have had zero luck with that at all whatsoever. I moved my printer from one room to the other, and the Z-axis had moved, and that print was completely ruined. It was completely gone. There was no way for me to continue. I tried to do it via the instructions I just explained, and the printer dropped down and just started slicing through the rest of the print with its nozzle like a hot knife through butter. Which brings me to a new issue that I started having with the Z-axis. Before, when I first got the printer, when there was no power on the printer, the Z-axis would stay at the height that it was left at. Now, with almost no pressure at all, if you touch it, that Z-axis will start to droop. I think it'll even do it over time under its own weight. Why is this a problem? It means if I want to pause a print to move it to a different room or just to make it be quiet for a little while, I can't really do that. Because if I pause the print, the Z-axis is going to droop, and whenever it starts back up, that hot nozzle is just going to run into the print, either melting it all across the top, exploding into spaghetti, or it'll just knock the entire print off the build plate. This has been a huge issue that I cannot figure out how to solve, and I don't know what started the problem to begin with. Unfortunately, right now in China, they're celebrating the Chinese New Year. LOTMAXX sent me an email, told me they weren't going to be available until after the Chinese New Year. So I have not been able to work this issue with them to see and figure out if there's a solution. If it's something that I caused myself, if a part broke on the printer, I'm really not sure what happened. But as of right now, it's not really feasible to pause a print and continue it. It has another problem with the Z-axis drooping like this too. I would personally like to print some new hot-in cooling parts to be able to improve my bridging, to get more consistent bridging and to get stronger bridging across my prints. But where this thing is drooping so much whenever I stop it right now, I don't want to add any extra weight to it that's just going to make the problem even worse. So right now, I'm kind of stuck on some of the upgrades I want to do because of this droop. Alright, so what's been great about the SC-10? The SC-10 is pretty quiet. The fans are a little bit noisy, but the motors are super silent. The SC-10 can turn out just absolutely gorgeous prints with surface quality that I can barely believe come from a 3D printer. LOTMAXX has promptly answered every question I've ever asked them. Anytime I've contacted them, within a day they'll get back to me, and they'll either tell me that they're looking for it or they'll have a solution for me. They have been awesome guys to work with, and I hope as the company continues to grow, they'll be able to continue with that same level of customer service. LOTMAXX has been very kind and patient and dedicated to making sure that I have the best prints that I can get, and it's just been super great, and they've been super, super good to deal with. Parting shots. Nils from, I think it's 3D Printing Zone. I'll leave his channel below. Nils said it best. He said, this is a hobby and you've got to treat it like a hobby. And that's exactly what my experience has been. 3D printing has not been plug and play. It's taken patience, it's taken dedication. I've had to study, I've had to tune the machine to get it printing well. But the end result has been totally worth it. I'm having so much fun printing knickknacks and just little toys and stuff. I hope to be able to print more useful prints here soon, but I've got to learn how to work in CAD first. So that'll be a little bit further down the road. Buying a printer kit like the Ender 3 that you have to assemble from start to finish by yourself will undoubtedly set you up for success by helping you understand better what parts are on the printer, what adjustments need to be made, and even just what all the parts are called. However, this printer, being able to put in 4 bolts and then get a print that turned out like my test print did within just a matter of hours was just amazing, and for me, totally worth it. I can deal with the calibration stuff as it comes up. I can learn as it comes up. But just being able to basically plug it in and start printing, that was a pretty neat experience too. Like I said before, I'm definitely 100% not a professional when it comes to 3D printing. I've only been doing it for about a month. I'm still learning, but this is super fun. So if you have any suggestions or any way you can help or help out anybody else in the community, drop them in the comments below. I'm going to leave a link to a bunch of YouTube channels that have helped me be able to get to the point I am. So make sure and check those guys out. They've all been amazing, and they've helped accelerate this process and helped it become a lot of fun. And that's all I've got for you guys today. This has been so much fun. If you like this video, let me know below. I'll try to do some more 3D printer videos or any other nerdy things that I get into. I do have a full-time job, so I don't get a lot of chance to make videos anymore. I really enjoyed this process. I enjoy talking to you guys and sharing my new toys with you guys. That being said, thanks for watching. My name is Chris, and I'm a nerd. Alright, in case you were wondering what I was printing in the background of this video. So, trying to find, this is kind of your standard like Garmin style ball joint. I'm trying to find a print that I can just, that I can reprint so I can use the same style mount. So that's what I got here. I tried to print one off the other day, didn't work. We'll see if this one will work for me. I'm gonna truth. Last one I just kind of stuck in there and it didn't snap at all. Oh yes, yes. Might have to turn up the infill a little bit, make it a little bit stronger, but it worked. That's amazing. See ya.